Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, which is process mining with Celonis and to bring clarity to your business. This webinar is organized by KPMG firms in the Baltic and Nordic regions together. And we are doing it with Celonis, a global leader in process mining. My name is Raul Nugis, and I will walk you through the topics on the agenda, as well as on participants in this webinar. But before I do that, let me just say a few words about why knowing your process is important. Well, I believe this is about life cycle of enterprise. Enterprise at some point is born and starts its journey. It grows. Sometimes, like a new company, once it is born, it does not survive. But if it is successful, it continues growing, becomes larger and larger, and hopefully successful. But once an enterprise is big enough, it faces different challenges. It's not about surviving anymore. It's about staying competitive. It's about staying profitable. And this is hard because in order to just maintain competitive position, organization must invest efforts constantly. This is difficult to do because any established existing organization has lots and lots of processes, lots and lots of activities to follow, to track. They are hard to follow, they're hard to track, and that one issue is how to remain cost effective. And second, this is cost effective. It's about avoiding overspending. It's about avoiding overspending. It's about efficiency. But the other hand in this equation, or the other half in this equation, is income competitiveness. This is about how to deliver fast. To be effective on turnover, you have to deliver fast, either service or goods. But let me not dwell on it too long, and let me just move on to participants and to agenda topics, and then to participants in this webinar. First, on the second slide, we have agenda. Well, the opening words were actually done. These are from me. And the next one, and just to remind you, I am Raul Nugis. I am from KPMG Lighthouse in Estonia. Next large topic will be execution management and process mining. This is from Celonis. Celonis, let me just remind you, is a global leader in process mining. It's a famous platform delivering process mining to clients. We will be hearing from Alexander Belyaninov, key account executive in Celonis. And next, Eduard Sehel, who is solution engineer, and will be telling us, hopefully, why process mining with Celonis is made easy to implement, to deliver results. And after that, we are hopeful to hear from Philippe Grindeman, who is Director of Customer Transformation at Celonis. But he has actually a great experience as customer side experience from process mining, working with Celonis platform. And after that, we want to hear from KPMG, from ourselves, from KPMG. And we are lucky to have Jan Nyström, who is head of data and analytics at KPMG Finland. And Jan will hopefully share with us practical experiences and learnings in the Nordics. This is about how KPMG helps establish process mining service at our clients and how we deliver value to our clients. After that, let us have a questions and answers block. I will hopefully be able to track your questions, which you will be able to submit hopefully in chat. And I will try to pick one or two questions directed to all of previous speakers. But if you have a rapid question, especially in Celonis block, in which we will have hopefully a short demo on how process mining with Celonis platform looks like, I will drop in a question or two between Celonis speaker and Jan Nyström, speaker from KPMG. And last but not least, we are lucky to have Edvins Elferts from KPMG Latvia. And we want to hear why do we have a competitive gap in the Baltic states as compared to the Nordic states? And if we do, how can we close it? How we can catch up with the Nordic countries, which at least here in Estonia has been a holy grail of thinking all around in public sector, government, as well as in the private sector. But let me just well, I believe I covered everyone, and if without further ado, let us change to Alexander Bilyanin from Celonis, speaking about execution management and process mining, which are a new step in evolution for every modern company with demo cases. Alexander, please take over.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rolo, for induction. Just today we will start. I know that everybody hates slides. But today we'll have a couple for you. I will to be honest, it's important to give you just an induction about the Celonis and give you the basic understanding what it is, what is the solution, what is the company is about, and so on. That's why somebody from you knows about Celonis, knows about process mining, somebody not. For somebody, it's just the first time when you touch this type of solutions, and you will see that is how it's look like and so on. That's why it's important to give you a few induction slides to be sure that we are on the one page of the understanding what it is and how it works and so on. I will show my screen right now, just to be sure that everything is okay. So colleagues, as I said, just a few induction words, then we will jump to the demo. And I think that the main part, how we will understand how the process mining works, why this idea appears, and why it's so popular in the Europe and the other regions. The Ed will cover this part, and he will show the demo and show the system how it's look like with some of use cases, which is the most popular. So just a few words about Celonis and what it is. So Celonis, it's a quite young company. We have a unicorn status. The company was born in 2011, and we're a little bit older than 10 years. And since then, we are growing 100% year by year. Already have more than 2,500 customer deployments. So, which is important. So absolutely different companies in different industries, different sizes, from small startups with 5-10 people till the big corporations. like Lego, Unilever, Mars, big banks, just oil and gas companies, and so on. So we are recognized like a leader by the different sources like Reuters, Gartner, Forrester, Everest, Wall Street Journal, and etc. Just everybody says that the Celonis is a leader in the process mining area. So, and Gartner says that we are just takes about from 80 to 85% of the market share. Our valuation is 11 billions. And this is it. We're just quite fast growing company. And I can say that why we're so popular in process mining, because we are just, I can say that we're bringing this technology to the market. Yeah, just in-house development and so on. But if we talk about how to say, just like a vendor vision, yeah, like a provider of the process mining solutions, just we was the first one. And the person who invented this technology, the professor from one of the technology universities, so he's our chief data scientist at that moment, and we're super happy about it. So this is it. So this is what is Celonis. So just as I said, we have absolutely different customers from different areas. Just I will leave these slides and we will send it to you like a follow-up. Maybe you will see something, some company which you are interested in. So most of them are open for the references. We'll be happy to organize it for you if it will be important for you to understand how it really works, and then just to discuss how it works in some of our customers. So how this idea, the idea of the process mining appears, yeah, just why it's so popular nowadays. Raul already says that yes, it's very important for the companies at that moment to be how to say, just more flexible in their processes and just more flexible in the way how they are doing business, yeah. And just when the company is small, it's quite simple for them to understand how they are going to work, where they are going to go, and how they are manage their processes. Because our IT landscape in the very beginning is quite simple. Yeah, we have one or two systems, and just our processes flows between two systems, or maybe from time to time it's Excel or some desktop operations and so on. So it's quite simple to understand what is happening in our company. But when the company is growing step by step, and just our IT landscape became more fragmental, more systems appears in our IT landscape, more processes, more people in our company working, and of course the people change each other. Just it's a classic how to say, just a classic way how the company is working. Yeah, the company became more complexity. Yeah, just more complex, more solutions, more people, more law regulations, just geopolitical complexity, COVID, and many other things. So in this case, how to say it correctly, some inefficiencies appears in our company. So our processes more difficult, more steps in our process, just the process flows from different systems, from one to another, sometimes in Excel, sometimes from Excel to another system. And of course, it incubates these hidden inefficiencies. And so the main idea is just to give you the understanding how the main idea of the process mining is just to give you the understanding how your processes look like with 100% transparency. So this is the X-ray for your business. So just it gives you the absolutely 100% transparency of your process or processes. Just we will see everything without all the deviations, cycles, reworks, hidden steps, and so on. So our process will be on the first step will be 100% transparency with all the deviations, as I said. But how it's really looks like, yeah, how we can work with it, and what is the main functionality. So just as I said, the process mining, it's the core of this idea. So okay, we understand that we have our BPMN solution, or we understand after the questionnaires or after the interviews in our company, we understand that our process should look like this. Yeah, just on the left side, number one, just we design our process. But when we just start working with this process, we understand that it's not so just not so transparent for us. We have some deviations, some extra steps, and so on. But when we put all the data into the Celonis, we understand that it usually looks like this. Yeah, it's just a great spaghetti monster, and it's really difficult to work and understand how it's really look like and how we can work with this and work on the efficiencies of these processes. So yeah, and what is this these three elephants on which the Celonis stands? Yeah, as we said from the very beginning, just yes. First step, it's measure and to understand how our process really run and identify the gaps. As I said, for the Celonis, it doesn't matter which kind of source systems do you use. It could be absolutely different systems, Oracle, SAP, Workday, Microsoft, some in-house development system. It could connect it to your databases or just a simple flat files like Excel. So just the Celonis don't change your IT landscape. So we just put on top of your systems. We don't need to change something inside. Yeah, just it's on top of your systems. We don't need to change your IT landscape. So this is it. First step, measure, understand process really runs, identify the gaps. Then it's just to know and understand, just which type of gaps or just cycles, reworks, makes the greatest impacts on our KPIs or on our process. So just we can understand which step or which group of steps or just in which system we have some bottlenecks or just we have some problems in the process which make our process longer or more expensive or more, I would say, just or not so transparent as we expect. And we understand the level. Yeah, just for example, to understand, we can understand the root causes why it's happened. Yeah, we can drill down directly from Celonis and understand which step, and which step of the process will just make this impact and why. And the third step is just to act. Yeah, it's a very important step because just, okay, we understand how the process really runs. We understand where our process gaps and which are the most important for us to fix them first, then others. And then we can just initiate some kind of automation steps or just the basic recommendations to give you the really useful tool. Yeah, we don't need to drill down to the master system to make this step. We can do it directly from the Celonis. So for example, Celonis can give us the some kind of recommendations, says, guys, for example, please make attention on these purchase orders. If we don't proceed with these purchase orders in nearest 1 or 2 hours, it will be delayed and we will have some penalties because of this. Or it could be automatically I don't know, cancel the blocks from these POs if just these POs follow the algorithm which we put in the Celonis. For example, if these POs less than $100,000 amount or euros amount, it will be automatically approved, because if we will not approve, just the number of our penalties and the level of our penalties will be higher than the numbers in this PO. Yeah, this is it. Just a few examples. So measure, know, and act. This is 3 elephants where on which the Celonis stands. So as I said, just it's very easy to start working with Celonis, and just it's very easy to start. It's very fast implemented solution. So to start working on your processes, usually we need just the classic event logs. So we need just the object ID. It could be some I don't know, number of purchase order, or it could be the log in the system of some of the employees. It could be a number of the client in the system, doesn't matter, some kind of case ID. Then the activity, what was done. It could be in the different systems. It's absolutely okay. We can aggregate, disaggregate this information. And then we need the event time. So these 3 points, we have mostly in 95% of all the systems which we have in the world. So just event log, this is the classic things. So, and this is more than enough for us just to help you working on the effectiveness of your processes and to start working with Celonis. So yeah, the last slide from my side, and then we will jump to the demo. As I said, it's really easy to start, and for Celonis, it doesn't matter on which process we can focus. Yeah, just the Celonis, it's absolutely a process agnostic system. It could be absolutely a system transformation. Just all of our customers just usually tell us, I think that 90% of all customers tell us that, oh, maybe we're not ready. Just we're in the transformation at that moment. Transformation, it's a thing which happen in the company all the time. So just the Celonis absolutely useful with the system transformation. We can help you to understand which process is better to migrate from one system to another, what kind of transformation better to do firstly than others, yeah, just from which step it's better to start. So the Celonis can help you with the system transformation, and just we have absolutely good examples with this, with the customers who do this. Shared transformation services, just process excellence, supply chain transformation, absolutely different processes in these areas. Just and as I said, first value realization start in 4 or 6 weeks. So we just after the first uploading data to the system, usually we find inefficiencies on the sum or just the money of this discovery much more usually than the project costs. So this is it from the very beginning. Also have a few slides which describes the difference between the process mining and other solutions like BI or API. Just we will leave it like the follow-up by the induction words. That's all from my side. I hope I tried to open a little bit the door for you of the process mining world, but to give you the induction, I think it's enough to understand how it really works, and then we can jump to the demo. Edo, the floor is yours. Just let's see how the Celonis really looks like. And that's it. Thank you, colleagues, for attention.
Thank you very much. All right, so thank you. Thank you, first of all, for your interest, and thank you for your time. My name is Eduard Seel, and I'm a solution engineer here at Celonis. And today I want to showcase you how you can use Celonis. And in this case, we're going to use the accounts payable process and how you can use Celonis to excel in your accounts payable process. That being said, first of all, Celonis can and is being used for a multitude of processes throughout organizations and industries. So this is just showcasing the accounts payable process, but let our journey begin. And I want to start a journey in the Celonis marketplace, because what have we been doing for the last 10 years? Because first of all, before you start process mining, you need to get the data and you need to connect to the data. And in the last 10 years, what we have done is to build a lot of connectors and with different systems and with different processes. And we have used this knowledge to come together to a marketplace to really give you a head start in terms of implementation, because we don't want to use and spend months for implementation efforts. And that's why we have used or built this marketplace to really give you a head start in terms of connecting to your processes. This could be, for example, as we see here, the accounts payable process in SAP, or it could be incident management in ServiceNow, and we have really built a multitude of them just to connect to your data quickly. So, but what happens once the data is connected and transformed into Celonis? And for those of you who have been heard of process mining before, you will have seen something like this. This is the heart of process mining, our variant Explorer. And we see here our accounts payable process with our important KPIs. We see we are dealing with 1.2 million invoices, and which amount to $2.9 billion in invoice value. And we can even see our automation rate. But what the most important thing on this screen is here is our process, how it flows. And we see for the accounts payable process, we start with the vendor creating an invoice all the way until the due date pass and the invoice is cleared. But that being said, this is only the most common case. And as we see on the bottom right here, it covers only half of the cases. So what happens to the other half of the cases? And what happens is when we can see, or what we see if we expand the view a little bit, we see deviations from our process. Some of those deviations might be reasonable at some point in time, but others don't. Others are costing us time, and those costing us also money. And if we expand the view a little bit further, we see even more steps. We see, for example, payment blocks which are being set in the accounts payable process. We can see some manual steps being conducted, and we see just more and more inefficiencies arise. If we, however, go to the full picture and the full complexity, we see our accounts payable process, how it really runs. And this is what you maybe have seen earlier on Alex's slide. But this is the reality. This is how processes run. And let me be honest with you, and without During my experience of Celonis, those 690 variants are far an understatement. We are sometimes talking about thousands or tens of thousands of variants of how a simple process like the accounts payable process can run. But this is the true complexity and the full picture and full transparency of your as-is processes at the moment. Obviously, the spaghetti diagram gives us full visibility, but then it's very hard to derive root causes and issues why a process is run that inefficiently. And that's why we have built the executive dashboard. And the executive dashboard is also super interesting in a way to see of how is in the end using Celonis. Because we call it the executive dashboard because it is used for and built for executives. So we're not talking about a software where we only have data scientists working on it all the way. Of course, we need some to implement the data, but the actual users of Celonis throughout the day will be either executives, it would be normal accounts payable process specialists, or it could be used throughout the whole organizations. And usually we're talking about 90 to 95% of the users are in the end business users and not technical users. And this executive dashboard gives you your most strategic important goals and something you want, the things you want to tackle. In this case, we are dealing with three important strategic goals. Labor productivity, which is measured by the throughput capacity, working capital, which is measured by the days payable outstanding, and lastly, cost avoidance, which is measured by the excess spend. And it's important to mention here that these strategic goals will be defined or tailored for you. That means you can think of your own strategic goals, the goals you want to achieve and the goals you are looking for and the ones you want to have transparency with. In this case, we will dig down in the working capital one to really see how our working capital, how we can increase our working capital. In this terms, we are talking about days payable outstanding, and we want to obviously increase the days payable outstanding. We are now at the moment at 69 days, but we see that we can go even with the best in class of 75 days, thus giving us more money or more working capital, to say better. So now what we have done so far is after we collected the data, we have seen our process, how it really runs. We most likely haven't seen something like this before in our process. We haven't thought that our process would run like this. And now we see how our strategic goals are performing at this point in time. And now it is time to tackle them, as Alex also mentioned with the measure, know, and act principle. And therefore, we want to deep dive into the working capital and in our accounts payable process to really find our root causes. We see again our process explorer here. We can also deep dive to find important issues within our working capital. But once again, we see the key metrics which are important to us, the days payable outstanding, and our potential value, which we have identified, given our 1.2 million invoices and our invoice value of nearly $3 billion. And Celonis gives us right away our top inefficiencies. And we see them clearly pointed out here. We are talking about early payments, which are affecting nearly 500,000 invoices and have a severe impact on our days payable outstanding. And second, and very pressing issue, as well as the payment term discrepancy, and lastly, the early invoices. And we also can find the root causes or really deep dive into our days payable outstanding by different vendors or different materials or different organizations. So this view really allows us in a way to find our root causes and find what is happening with our processes and how we can change them for our set KPIs. This one, I want to go with you with the early invoices. And as you obviously or surely know, is that if invoices are received before goods delivery, then they are cleared earlier than the agreed payment terms, and our early payment terms result in a lost cash on hand. And we see here again, we are talking about $620 million US, and because we pay on average 6.4 days early. And by having a realization potential of 50%, we can save with that for $5.4 million US. And this view gives us really the overview and our deep dive and what is happening, why it's happening, why do we have early invoices. And we can also dig down on try to find how many days early do we pay. We see we have most of the invoices paid 1 to 5 days early, but it can be even more than 10 days early, having a really high working capital impact. So, but as Alex said before, we are talking about measure, know, and act. And process mining gives you the full transparency, and that is nice and is really helpful in a way. But obviously, we want to tackle those inefficiencies. We want to act on those. And we can do this with our execution management system within our system. And therefore, we set up an action flow. And the action flow, just to give you some insights, is how we act on our processes, is how we try to make our processes run better, and how we tackle the inefficiencies. In these terms, we will detect the payments with the payment term discrepancy, and we search for the invoices with the payment term mismatch. And then depending on the value of the invoice, we can either create a task for a responsible employee to approve the postponed payment, or we can, for low values, we can even directly inviting back in the source system and postpone the payment, and then afterwards automatically send an email to our vendor and inform them. And this is just one way of how we could, for example, tackle one of the inefficiencies and therefore come closer to our strategic goals of increasing our working capital. All right, this is one use case what I have shown you within the accounts payable process, and there's even a bit more I want to show you in terms of what Celonis can do. And this one is, I want to go with you to the process discovery, because obviously sometimes you want to know a bit more about your organizations. You have different organizations and maybe you want to compare them. And this is also what is being done and what is super helpful within the Celonis platform. So we can select organizations from different regions or from different departments. We can even change the dimensions to vendor, or really what is important to you in a way of benchmarking. And with that, we see our most important KPIs that also might be in real time, and we see how they are performing against each other. And we can, for example, also with that derivate best practices from our organizations. Maybe our process in Poland runs way smoother than in Germany. So we can use those best practices in making our process better and standardize it as well in a way. And this process discovery is also possible for a lot of different topics. It's not just benchmarking, it could be also our automation rate. How are we performing? Which tasks are created or are done automatically, which are done manual? And as we see here, for example, we have only manual change price activities. But on the other hand, our due date path is obviously automated. And so we can really dig and deep dive how we are doing in the terms of our important goals. And this case could be also, in this case, automation. And the last thing is, for example, maybe you are already a bit more advanced in process mining or process modeling. And you have modeled your process already, and you know how your accounts payable process should look like in theory. And you have sat down and you have defined your process, and you really know how it should look like. What you can do with Celonis then is to import those processes, or you can even build them from scratch within Celonis should you not have a process model yet, and then compare it to your as-is processes. So you really see how your to-be and as-is processes are comparing against each other. And as we see here, we have only 50% confirming cases. That means only one out of two processes aren't running in the way how it should be. And we see also with that our most important KPIs. What does it mean for us? What impact does it have to our business? We see an increased throughput time, and we see that we need more steps per case. That means more blocking employees, costing us more time, costing us more money, costing us frustrations with our employees as well, because they have to do tasks which hinder them from doing their tasks what they have assigned to. And with that, we also see our most important violations and how much they affect our cases. And that basically is also how we can perform business or incorporate business process modeling into Celonis. The last thing I want to show you is our task inbox, because as I mentioned before, we're talking about a software or solution which is being used throughout the whole organization and should make it easier to work with a lot of systems, because we don't want you to use even more systems and go into the 51st source system today to change and work on your projects and projects. And therefore, last we also have the inbox. And the inbox acts like a central location from where you can really manage and complete the tasks which are assigned to you, tailored per employee. And this is how Celonis can and is being used throughout the whole organization. And as you can see here, we can directly act in the process. In this case, we have to review a duplicate, and we can either decide to delete the invoice or remove the payment block within the platform. And that's basically wraps up our demonstration. This is how we can use Celonis in the account payable process. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Edu. So just Philip, the floor is yours. Yeah, just please let me know if you need some. Oh no, you don't need. Okay, you're welcome, Philip.
So first question, as always, do you see the slides, right? Very good, very good. So it's a pleasure being here, talking today about value realization, how we scale value with the technology of Celonis. And what I want to start with is actually that also Celonis did a transformation. Like Alex mentioned, it's a very young company, not more than 10 years old, but even we are continuously transforming. And one of the recent transformations is that we transform from a software vendor to a real value partner. What does that mean? So that's people like me working for Celonis in the customer transformation, supporting US clients with our partners like KPMG to realize value. So our North Star is the value that you realize in your business. It's not a technical implementation, another tool, another piece of software. It's the value that you realize as our customers, ideally P&L effectively or sustainability, more sustainable business, etc., etc. So that's our North Star, right? And I'm part of the customer value group that supports you in realizing value with the technology of Celonis, together with partners like KPMG. And what we do in the customer transformation is we support you along the whole journey with expertise that we've done something like that before, right? We are a team of 10 people. We already have created Center of Excellences in big corporates. In my case, that's Lufthansa, and that's what I want to talk about today, about the Lufthansa case. And we also support you with change management or defining a transformation master plan, right? And why is there the so-called Celos COE? One last side note at that case. We started this year the Champions League of COEs, of Celonis COEs, and 40 companies worldwide qualify for that Champions League. And what does that mean? So that are companies that have realized more than $10 million in value, that have 10 plus processes connected. So they're doing an enterprise-wide transformation. And the one example that I want to share with you today is the Lufthansa case, right? The Lufthansa success story. And at Lufthansa Group, they started using Celonis, me still being at Lufthansa Group at that time, in 2018. And they connected their processes to Celonis. Examples for processes are ground operations, so everything that you see when you look outside the window at the airport, or technical fleet management, where they need to order material, they change tires, for example, in order to maintain the aircraft and pay for that material, right? And the main focus back in 2018 was quality of the processes, so on-time delivery, lower throughput times, and they managed to at the starting airline, they already managed to save 300,000 delay minutes. That led to higher customer satisfaction, right? And it's roughly, there's a calculation of an international organization, the IATA, that says it's 75 euro roughly for each delay minute. So you can calculate quite quickly. So it was way more than 5 million euro less irregularity costs for Lufthansa Group already in 2018. And because of that success, it scaled from 1 to 6 airlines in just 1.5 years. So to more and more airlines within the group, like Swiss, like Austrian Airlines. These success stories made it scale automatically. And where we support as KPMG and Celonis is really to generate a process digitization flywheel where you can generate and scale value massively with that technology. But let me take one step back, right where it started. Right, I mentioned it started in 2018 at that specific success story, and it started with pure process mining. So what's the difference between process mining and execution management, the next evolution of our technology. So process mining is very focused on analytics, on understanding how your processes are run, but it's most of the cases, it's looking in the rear view mirror, right? It's you look today on how the process was done yesterday, you generate insights. And that's where it started, with two processes, doing process mining, analytically using that technology, Celonis. And we had roughly 50 users within that starting airline called Lufthansa CityLine, right? Already generating massive value of more than 5 million euro in less irregularity costs. But we as a company didn't stop there. So it's execution management today, right? And that does mean that it's in real time and you can steer the processes while they're happening. So imagine you got processes in the ground operation. So the caterer is too late, the cleaning is too late for that aircraft. And you may think, okay, if it's one process, you can do that manually, right? You can steer the process, you can call the caterer, you can call the cleaner, but it's thousands of flights around the globe, right? And if you get that information in real time, you can intervene and catch up the delays or potential delays of that turnaround, of that aircraft turnaround. So that led to scaling to more and more processes in the finance department, like procurement, purchase to pay, the example that you've just seen, crew management, more technical processes. And that scaling led to double or even triple-digit million in value for Lufthansa Group. And last but not least, you also seen that in the demo. It's not a tool that's for analytical usage of some specialists of 3-4 people doing analytics. It's actually something that drives execution management in your whole company. And that does mean that we create apps, action boards that are used by the frontline staff, people working in the operation of that company. And perhaps in order to give you an insight of the decision making, right? Why process mining back in 2018 was that important for Lufthansa Group. The situation was completely different, right? So it was pre-COVID, and the pain point back then was, I mentioned that already, process quality. So there was no meeting at all where the CEO of the Lufthansa Group hasn't stated that he is not, so the process quality is not sufficient for a quality airline, for premium airline. Too many delays, too many cancellations. And that was really the most crucial Lufthansa-wide issue back then in 2018. And how the company actually tackled that pain points and that quality of the processes was very reactive. So again, that example from the ground operation, you got a delay. So you start searching in Excel files, in your source systems, in a custom-made system, but also SAP, etc., etc. You start searching in the data if you find patterns and root causes for that process outcome, for that delay. And perhaps you already took the wrong direction at the first point, right? You perhaps thought, okay, it's in the ground operation, but it was already a delay produced in the technical fleet management. So the aircraft was provisioned too late at that day. So the solution back then in 2018 was, let's start a whole new way of working and proactively monitor the process health and the process quality. And that's what back then we called Promote, right? It's a fancy branding so that it really creates a momentum within the Lufthansa Group. And it's an acronym for process mining for operational excellence. And this is really a whole new way, not monitoring trends reactively and search for root causes. Now it's an automatically identification of the root causes, because you can compare the as-is process with the should-be process. And therefore you see inefficiencies, bottlenecks in a blink of an eye. And in order to make that even more tangible, there's one example that I want to show on that specific slide, right? The example I talked a lot about was aircraft turnaround, because I still love it. Being an aircraft nerd, it's very tangible. I think most of you already have seen such a turnaround. If you see on the left top side of that slide, and there is process data generated, right? So it's the real-time data ingestion from what is happening around the aircraft. And in order to check how the as-is process is run compared to the should-be process, the reference models on the bottom left that you see see there are added to that data model as well. So normally the caterer should arrive 10 minutes after the aircraft went on block, and it should take 20 minutes in order to cater that size of aircraft. So in the Process Explorer, like you've seen in the demo, right, a few minutes ago, now really shows thousands of flights. So it's more than 500,000 flights in the database in Celonis within Lufthansa Group. And you can compare how the catering, cleaning, loading process is performing compared to the reference process. And what do you get out of it, right? Is that you can automatically monitor the critical path, find bottlenecks, optimize your reference model, do real-time process steering, or even, right, if you think of a total different role in your organization, perhaps you are in the procurement department or in the contract management department, and you have the clear visibility on how the providers perform. So is the provider at a certain station not performing at all? You can get in discussions with them and use it in the next contract negotiations. Or you can even do performance management with the providers and support them in performing better, right? And boosting the customer satisfaction. So the possibility, so everything that you can improve in executing a process can be done. It's just a matter of how to set up the action boards and how to set up the apps in order to transform the business. And you may think right now that I talked a lot about process quality, process performance back in 2018. And for sure, everyone knows that it's getting better, right? Step by step. So again, there's a catch-up effect in traveling. More people now travel in business purpose or leisure travel. But back then, when the pandemic started in 2020, there was no idea of improving the quality of the processes at Lufthansa Group anymore. So a possible reaction could have been, okay, let's stop the Celonis initiative, let's stop promote, let's focus on different stuff because our liquidity is at risk, right? It's the risk of bankruptcy for the whole group. So what could have happened is, let's stop here, right? But as I said, it's a continuous transformation, and that's what's supported by Celonis. And therefore, I want to show you that even more processes were added. And they were getting more and more crucial in terms of supporting the Lufthansa Group with that Celonis initiative with Promote. And why is that, right? It's possible to pivot in a blink of an eye. You have the real-time data. You have all your, you have the whole operating model set up in order to continuously steer, continuously improve, predictively steer the processes. So what was done is the focus of the improvements was switched from performance, process quality to operating costs. Don't spend money at all. So in the procurement processes, there were new actions set up in order to lower the thresholds, to have a clear management steering view on where the money is going, right, in order to preserve the cash. If you look on the technical fleet management and ground operation, there were people in short-term work, right? So new work packages, like a parking check, the aircraft needed to be checked if it's ready for parking or not. Totally new processes, but they could be improved so that the short-term work quota was high. The people didn't need much time in order to perform those checks because the planning was that efficient. And if I couldn't, let's say, show you with that Lufthansa example, how a movement that is steered by this process digitization flywheel, we call them center of excellences, right, within the organization, is the right thing to do, then one short excerpt from our recent survey that we did in our customer base. We got more than 200 responses from our customers, and it's 8.8 times more likely to generate really a huge, massive, positive ROI with our technology if you have such a COE, a Center of Excellence in place, a dedicated team driving transformation on a daily basis, and therefore scale value not only in one process, in two processes, but enterprise-wide. And this is how it actually looks like, right? If we take one step back, what is the Center of Excellence all about? We really want to have it set up as the portfolio management between what the executive sponsorship needs, so quality of the processes in the Lufthansa example, and 2 months later, when the pandemic hit, it was all about operating costs. So that would be that strategic guidance. And the Center of Excellence really acts as a portfolio manager, as a hub, in order to translate that demand from the management into tangible targets and actionable insights for the community, in that case, for the different process owners and the different airlines, right? And when I talked a lot about movement and change, and this is also what we see, right? We change the way the processes are executed, and therefore one crucial point there is the change management, and that's why back then we tied it closely to the Lufthansa Group brand. Everyone is likes to work for Lufthansa Group, right? They identify themselves working in that company, and the same I think goes for you. And therefore we tied that initiative that to create momentum closely to the brand. And that's really the last slide that I got for you. We don't leave you alone, right? In order to close the loop. Back then, I presented to you, we are not a software as a service, we are value as a service. We are your value partner. North Star is the value. And we support you along the whole way, right? So starting from implementing, getting the insights, to generating value and scaling that value. And So we would be happy to see down the road more and more Celo COEs that qualify for the Champions League of transformation, right? Generating more than 10 million euro in value, or $10 million in value. Yeah, and that's where we support you on that journey, with different workshops, with different ideas, sharing best practices, and happy to see some of you down the road in order to support you in generating massive value in your business.
Well, and thank you, Philip. Thank you, Edward. Thank you, Alexander, for this excellent insight into how Celonis operates, how different types of value are brought clearly to customers, and this is excellent. Well, let's in a moment move on to Jan Nyström, KPMG Finland head of data analytics, to tell us what experience we have in the Nordic countries. And just to update you on the questions, let's say rapid intervention questions are not coming so far. I have one or two questions that I want to ask you, but let's stick to the original plan so far, and let's have a kind of 3 to 5 minutes session, question session after Jan, and before moving to Edwin's, and then we will come back to questions likely to Philip and Edward, but probably also to Jan. Okay, now let's move on to Jan. Please, Jan, take over and tell us how it is in the Nordic.
Thank you, Philip, for an inspiring presentation of Lufthansa. I really like the airline industry and how they focus quite much on data in that area. My name is Jan Nyström. I'm pleased to join this webinar from Helsinki, Finland, where I operate. I'm responsible of our data analytics and intelligent automation services in a unit called KPMG Lighthouse. I'm going to talk for the next 20, 25, 30 minutes really about the practical experiences we have from process mining, and talk a little bit about the journey. I think many companies would want to be where Lufthansa is currently, but it's a journey to get there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our experiences, what kind of project we have done, what is our kind of key takeaways from this. We have been working with process mining for the last 5-6 years, and it's really taken up speed now during actually maybe starting from the COVID period. And but before I go there, some of you might wonder that what is this KPMG Lighthouse that I'm talking about. And KPMG Lighthouse it's basically our center of excellence for data-driven technologies. So KPMG Lighthouse is a specialist organization within KPMG that focuses on 4 key topics. So we focus on data, so managing companies' data. We focus on analytics, various kinds of technologies, one of them being process mining. And then we focus on artificial intelligence, as well as then what we call intelligent automation. We operate across the globe, and in the Nordic countries combined, we are something like 250 resources. What we do basically is we help both KPMG internally utilize these technologies, but first and foremost, we work with our clients to help them become better in being data driven and better in utilizing new technologies. But what I'm going to talk a little bit about is from KPMG's view as a partner to Celonis, as a kind of implementation partner of process mining projects, a little bit about what is process mining, maybe a recap. But mostly I'm going to focus on that. Why are companies actually using it? Why is it such a hot buzzword at the moment? What are the typical use cases? And then maybe some guidelines on how to get started. As said, all the companies are not Lufthansa's. They are also in smaller size. Quite many actually of our customers are not that big. They don't have that many resources, but they are still quite happy process mining customers. And then last, my kind of personal things, my personal notes on what are the topics to remember when starting a journey with process mining. I think if you want to summarize process mining into just one picture, this is a quite good picture to remember. All companies have processes and guidelines of how to operate. In practice, these processes are run by people, and people are typically quite innovative in finding shortcuts, in finding new ways of working. Now, process mining is basically data-driven technologies to understand how the real life is working. Typically, as consultants, when we come into a company and we ask them that, how does a specific process for you work? Many companies have charts. They have process flows that they can show us that this is our purchase to pay process. When we analyze the process utilizing process mining, we can see the exact same things as Edward showed as Edward showed in the demo. So there are multiple ways how processes are in real time, are in reality working. And process mining is basically a data-driven technology to help discover how the processes are working and then give guidelines on how you can improve on that. So basically, what we are seeing is it's bridging the gap between traditional business intelligence and analytics that's typically focusing on rather narrow areas of your data, and then business process management, which is process development, but typically not from a data point of view. It's more from a management point of view. And process mining fits quite well in here between as a tool to both analyze the data as well as then support you in developing your processes. If we go a little bit deeper into kind of differences between data analytics and process mining, I have a quite long history in data analytics. I come basically from the left side, where I'm used to analyze specific areas of your situation in a company. So we can focus on supply chain data, making key findings on that specific data area with the help of data analytics. But when I learned about process mining about 6 years ago, it was quite utilizing, put together the whole action process to a simplistic and easy to understand flow, which will help you to discover how things are working from a process point of view. So not only highlight that where is a certain problem area, but also understand the reasons, the kind of root causes behind it. These methods partly overlap, because when you go to the dashboard side, for instance, there are quite many data analytics elements, but I think they have kind of specific purposes in the organization. Process mining is really about process development, finding opportunities, how you can become more efficient, how you can solve bottlenecks, how you can increase the automation around your processes, and thus become more efficient. I think we have had quite many good presentations of what process mining is, but if we look from a KPMG's point of view, we have an organization, as I said, the Lighthouse organization in the Nordic, that has about 250 members in the organization. And within this team, we have 50 process mining experts in the Nordics, in the Baltics, all together. Now, the way how KPMG operates, and I think it was good also to hear from in Philip's presentations around Lufthansa and the center of excellence. In order to get the most value out of your analysis with process mining, it's really important that you combine subject matter expertise. I mean, expertise around the processes or around that industry, with analytical expertise that can then help you to run the processes and run the analysis. And the way how we have been organizing around this is that we typically, in the projects that we do together with our customers, we combine our domain expertise. And the domain expertise might come from a finance function expert, or it can be procurement, or it can be cybersecurity, whatever the actual topic is that we are analyzing and helping our client with. We take this information and then we combine it with our expertise in data and process mining. So basically the Lighthouse technology expertise and data processing expertise. What we also do then is that, especially in cases where the customer is looking for improving their processes and building something new, building the to-be processes, we have best practice process libraries across multiple functions, so across basically all the key processes, but then also across a rather large system landscape. So what we can do with these processes is we can then use these as benchmarking tools to how the company is operating now, and combining kind of the data-driven knowledge with a best practice process knowledge to get the results that we desire. Going forward, this is the way how KPMG is operating around process mining. As said, I'm not going to go any more deeper into this. I think the Celonis team had excellent presentations about this, and I think Philip had a very good explanation of how Lufthansa is utilizing process mining. But maybe it's good just to recap that it's really based on your data. So the transaction data that you have in your systems and the various event logs, that will give a digital footprint, that will give kind of the digital food that process mining is then chewing up and eating, and enables the discovery of how things are really working for real. The way how we kind of see that the core functionalities are all about, it's on the top left corner. It's really about understanding the as-is situation, understanding how your processes are working today. That will enable the organizations to standardize the way they are working. When you are standardizing the way you are working, you are also then enabled to create various kinds of automations in the processes. Those automations can be kind of execution management type of automations, as described earlier here, meaning that you trigger activities, or they can be then automations done by other technologies, such as RPA technologies. And I think last but not least, kind of optimizing your processes and really digging in deep into the processes about what is working and what is not working. I think quite many of the first initial discussions we have with our customers are around solving a specific problem within their process. So, for instance, increasing the cash flow. And what are the bottlenecks in the cash flow? That requires that we understand the current processes as they are, and then we find a way to improve them. When Corona hit a couple of years back, we were actually doing for quite many customers cash flow analysis. The customers were keen on seeing that because the situation in the market was extremely uncertain. They were really keen on finding ways of how they can manage their cash flows in a better way. Are there areas where they can postpone their paying invoices? Are there areas where they just have to do something? Now, process mining was an extremely good tool to get visibility over the cash flow and some kind of certainty into potential areas where they could operate in order to improve the cash flow. Now, looking from a customer point of view, from us, as you have seen in earlier presentations, it might be relatively clear why companies are utilizing process mining, but just maybe to recap this, I think efficiency is one of the key metrics most of the companies are looking for today. Efficiency and speed and agility comes a little bit hand in hand, and in order to get to efficiency, improving quality is quite essential. So even though many companies are focusing on efficiency, the right path in getting to efficiency might be to start focusing on the quality areas, start focusing on which are the areas that require rework, that require rehandling of the processes, and that might be areas where you actually have your low-hanging fruits. Then we are also working with and that might be a nature of who KPMG is, but for many of our clients, compliance is a quite important issue. So being able to monitor and being able to track that the processes are going as supposed, and let's say, for instance, segregation of duties is not violated in the organizations. So these are some of the kind of key reasons, key metrics why companies are starting their process mining journey. When we look at KPMG as an organization, so where have we been utilizing process mining? First of all, on the lowest row, I would say that across almost all key process areas in an organization. As said, process mining is not related to any specific process, but you can utilize it for any process that is supported by systems that create transactions and event logs. And basically that's most of your ERP systems, CRM systems or like. The areas we have been focusing on, and I will talk a little bit more about this on the next slide. Operational excellence, as I mentioned, that might be one of the key topics. Finding opportunities for automation. That's very essential for many of our clients. We also do forensics, so investigative analytics utilizing process mining, because again, when you do something in your ERP system, it leaves a digital footprint, a digital fingerprint on what you are doing. And process mining can also be utilized for forensic purposes to really understand a flow of actions in an organization. Right now, at least here in Finland and Sweden, many companies are in a situation where they are transforming or planning to transform to a new ERP. This is a very good situation to start looking at your current processes, looking at your as-is processes, and then comparing that to maybe your to-be processes, your vision where you want to be in the new ERP. Because as mentioned earlier, that requires change management, not only from a system perspective, but also from a human perspective. And understanding really the gap of changes required is quite important. Now, if I, and as said, here are a couple other examples of how KPMG has been using process mining. But just for the sake of time, if I go to the next slide, this is an example of, by the way, a tool that KPMG has created called RPA Scout, and it utilizes process mining to discover automation opportunities. So basically what it does, it scans through the processes and tries to find areas where you have a uniform and solid way of operating, and then kind of creates a calculation of the RPA, of the automation opportunity in that area. And it enables companies then to both track where the opportunity areas are, but then also rank them according to potential savings and potential costs in that area. This is one example. But if we go back to our customer side, and if I would highlight kind of 6 key areas where our customers are using process mining, I'm not sure if these are in the order of magnitude, but at least the first one, so operational excellence. This is typically always the starting point for almost all our customers. Not every time, but quite often. We are working with our customers to really find areas where they can improve. Currently, we are working with a company in the healthcare sector, and they have an issue with their invoicing where they are sending out too many credit notes, and their environment is rather complex, and they have multiple different types of customers, and as well as types of invoicing methods. And they have been quite unsure on that. What is it that triggers these credit notes, and what is it that they can do with them? They decided to invest in process mining as a tool to solve this issue, and actually within less than 6 weeks we came up with very good results for them in this area. Now, the other topic I already talked about is ERP migration. Also, we are currently in a project with a customer who is migrating their ERPs to a new platform. As part of this ERP migration, they are also looking for process consolidation. And in order to understand kind of the changes required, they are utilizing process mining to understand the as-is and compare that to the future consolidated process and see where are the biggest changes they need to act upon. Automation in any level, not only typical RPA, but also kind of automated execution management is something that most of the companies are looking for. Many of the big service centers that have centralized operations are really utilizing process mining to find areas where they can automate the process and increase the hyper automation of process execution. And again, process mining is an excellent tool for that. I mentioned already internal audit. So really auditing that everything is going as it should be. Are the approvals in place? Do we have duplicate payments? Are there any suspicious activities in the organizations? This is maybe not yet a that big use case area, but many of our customers are starting to gain interest in this. Lastly, maybe two quite similar. So in the shared service centers where operations are really centralized, there typically are multiple opportunities of things to be more synchronized and things to be more automated. That's an area where companies are using it, but then also the other way around. So if the company is looking for outsourcing some of their processes, it would be really important that these outsourced processes are relatively stable and relatively similar, so that they are relatively easy to be outsourced. And that's an area also where companies are focusing on. So I'm actually looking cautiously at my clock. I will share you then with the presentation a couple examples of the cases we have been working on. I have talked about them already a little bit here, so maybe you can then with more time take a deeper look at these. But I think we are happy to talk about our cases. I just wanted, by the way, as a last case example, bring up also ITS, so IT service management, because process mining is not only about finance and financial transactions. You can also monitor and analyze other types of processes, such as, for instance, tickets and requests and how these are treated. So now maybe the big question: how to get started, how to get things going. I think as in the Lufthansa case, there is always a certain starting process, and maybe the starting process is just a pure process mining area. So starting with the analysis to understand how things are working, finding bottlenecks and so on. Going from there, I think, just like Philip said, the trend on the market is really going from analysis to action. So increasing then the level of task automation, increasing the level of execution management as you go along. But it can be a little bit tedious to start in this area. So our recommendation quite often is that we would really start from really understanding how the processes are working currently by just utilizing the analytical part of process mining. And if we utilize the analytical part of process mining, it's very easy to get on board. First of all, if you are interested, which I hope you are, I think the first thing we do is just have a 2 hours workshop around the topic to continue the discussions we have started here today, but really to understand what would process mining enable you, what would it require from you, what would potential areas of interest be for you. This will take some 2 hours from your time, and it will increase the awareness and give you an insight on what is possible. If you are interested, then the next step would be either a proof of concept or proof of value. And I think the difference here is that with a proof of concept, we really can show you your data in the system. So we can show you that what does your processes look like in the system. We can jointly drill down into them, and we can do some initial findings of potential areas where that we could start working on. A proof of value is a little bit more deeper going study, where we actually are really crunching the data together with you with a number of iterations in order for you to really get value out of the exercise we are doing. So in the proof of value, we really aim to get money back, get business value from you. And then, of course, going into the implementation a little bit depending on the scope, and so both the scope of processes as well as the scope of systems. It can be anything from 4 to 6 months going to an ongoing service, ongoing development, where you just find more and more opportunities. So from my point of view, 5 things to remember, 5 things to consider about. Celonis and process mining looks really good, but it's not about the looks. It's not actually even about the technology, but it's about what it enables you from a business point of view. It's very important that it solves business problems, and it helps you gain increased efficiency, faster payback, and so on. It's really a business problem solving tool. In order to work with it, even though it's very easy to work with process mining, it still requires that you understand your data. You understand what the various transactions, what the various activities in your data set means. And this typically comes from working with the data and working with you to really look at the results and the findings. And that requires iterations. So quite seldomly you get everything you want at the first try. It's really an analytical tool where we are mining the data, we are mining the processes, and that requires some iterations. And that means also that it's very good for you to remember that even though we can get nice looking graphs in 2 weeks, the business value will typically take a little bit longer because it will require iterations with you. As mentioned earlier here, Celonis and process mining kind of all in all typically comes with a set of integrations to SAPs, Oracles, and these big systems. If you have a tailor-made system, if you have a homemade system, you can still utilize process mining. It will require some data wrangling, and the data wrangling and building the data model that supports your analytical requirements and your business needs, that requires a little bit of work. So data wrangling is something that comes up in our projects quite often. We need to work with the data in order to get the results we want. And last but not least, and it was said already earlier on, analysis is great, finding is greater, but the real value will come after you act on it. So either that you act through the systems, meaning that you trigger some execution management or automation from the system, or then you act by changing the way the processes are performed. So changing the way how people are behaving. That is the way to really get value out of process mining. I thank you for your time and happy to take any questions if you have them. If not, I will hand over to Edwin.
Well, thank you, Jan. I'm just this is Raul again. I just quickly intervene. I'd say there are no questions coming. We are also very slightly over time, but hopefully will be only a few minutes. I would like still to have this at least one question. Well, which I formulate myself. If you do not object, I'm not sure who to ask exactly. could be Edward, but it could be Jan, because at least it could be even Philip. Certainly not me, because you know subject as I understand so well. Let me just picture myself as a sort of undertaking here in the Baltics, and I'm not Lufthansa. I don't have IATA set metric for 1 minute saved, as Philip explained. I have something completely different. I don't know. I manufacture big metal things. I am convinced that process mining can help me, but I want to go to board, to C-level executives and promise that somehow the monetary value will also be delivered. For example, Edward was showing several KPIs which were in his presentation directly transferred into monetary value. For example, avoidable cost. How can I be sure to have some kind of to start with process mining together with KPMG and Celonis? How can I be sure that I can promise the board something very simple? We will improve monetary terms for our organization. So this is my question.
Jan, you want to take this one? Should I take this one? It's pretty open. Maybe I can start otherwise and do.
Yeah, I would be happy to answer, but I had a network connection issue here, so I missed 70% of the question. So maybe it's better that you talk about it.
Yes, I will start usually. Okay. So what we do before or within the project when we start at Celonis is that we first go with a business case validation. So for us, it's important to know, first of all, in the end of the day, it's your company and you know your processes best. And what we want to do, what we do with you together, or KPMG does as well, is that we sit together and have a discovery workshop of what are the cases which bring the most value and also with the least effort. That means the low-hanging fruit. So we would sit together and define, however, together what can we do, what is the easiest to do, and what impact does it have. And based on that, we will calculate the business case, which then is again used to show in board meetings, show to your CEO, to your CFO, and all that stuff. So we got you covered, and it's important to know the scope of the project first. And this is the approach we usually take. If someone wants to add anything, very happy.
Well, now this is excellent. This is close to how I pictured it myself. Well, I understand, Jan, because you lost a little bit of network bandwidth. We are a little bit short of time. Let's move on to Edwins. Edwins, can you please do two things for us? One, tell us what is relevant in the Baltic states here, because myself and Edwins, we come together from Latvia and Estonia. I'm happy to tell you though that all of the capabilities which Jan was showing in both process mining, RPA automations, and many others which KPMG can deliver in integrated fashion are also present locally in Estonia and Latvia, and we have teams in place. But let's not spend too much time on me talking, and Edwins, please take over and please go on.
We just want to confirm that you guys can see the screen as well that I'm sharing. So let's look into the real current situation with the Baltics and try to identify some competitive gaps and focus on the opportunities that we think really signify potential. Data is important and sometimes are facts. And if we have a look at the Digital Economy and Societies Index that summarizes the Europe's digital performance and tracks progress in the European countries, it looks into the human capital, the connectivity, integration of digital technologies, and also covers public sector, namely how digital are public services. According to this measure, Nordics are the most advanced digital economies in the European Union. Latvia, Lithuania is close to the average, and Estonia seems to be a frontrunner of the Baltics. If we do deep dive into integration of digital technologies by enterprise, which indicates the current state of uptake of these technologies and enablers such as big data, cloud, AI, e-invoicing, etc., then once again, we see that Nordics are being the top performers. Further, we see the differences between the Baltic countries, with Latvia having the largest gap from the leading pack and even the EU average. There's further data that suggests that Estonia is a frontrunner in digital public service, and Latvia is a frontrunner on the broadband coverage and takes up well and is well prepared for the 5G rollout. Nevertheless, it appears that Latvia is rather low in digitalization, and Estonia seems to be above average however, it's largely seems to be driven by high public degree of digital public services. There's also interesting to see that the most countries that are below the EU average in terms of digitalization have not progressed much in the last 5 years, which once again sort of highlights that the Nordic countries are ahead of us, and there is something that we can learn. Overall, it appears that private sectors in the Baltics need to continue its efforts in better integrating digital technologies, particularly focusing on as well on medium, small, and large enterprises and more traditional businesses. So what are the takeaways? If we have a look at this data, is there a sense of urgency? And we think the answer is yes. The Baltics seem to be completely off the grid process mining wise, which I think really highlights this significant untapped potential. And due to the nature of the process mining as an analytics solution, it is a great starting point for enterprises to really integrate and have a look at integration of digital technologies. What is great as well for us, of course, to see and highlight is that KPMG has a strong global alliance with Celonis. And at the moment, it appears to be the only industry-friendly service provider in the Baltics that is able to help with implementation as well of the services. It's no secret, digital technologies are an enabler for businesses to gain competitive advantage, improve services, markets, look at opportunities, how to expand markets, etc. And we think that it will help as well to transform the business and open up new opportunities for development as well of trusty technologies and processes, be it in compliance and be it in other types of areas. So we think in order to close the gap in the Baltics, we definitely can look at the Nordics from the experience we have heard in terms of how to get started. And we think there is an opportunity as well for further investments and process mining is definitely, I think, a good starting point for that. So KPMG and Celonis are here for you, for your organizations to really gain competitive advantage and improve the services and expand your market. So please do reach out to us and we'll really get you started. There are a couple of ways to do it. Jan has highlighted to us. Just talk with us and we'll find a solution that is fit for you.
Well, thank you so much, Edwin. This is excellent. And with this call, we are concluding this webinar, and thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all to the presenters for this excellent overview in this groundbreaking technologies, and wish you nice work day.